Hey everyone, Adam Savage in my cave with here with Norm Chan and head of design and concept at TOMY, Chris Huisman, because here we have dueling enterprises. I feel so good just seeing enterprises like in front of me, Chris. And I know we have to talk about this one, but can I just say, you guys do really beautiful work.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
So for folks who might not know, TOMY, you guys launched a campaign 2 years ago now where you released the original Enterprise, a die-cast version of it.
That's the part that blew us away, because we've been familiar with all the different iterations of the Enterprise and how many ways it has harmed the manufacturers, what a difficult shape it is to make stable.
Yes, it's not the easiest thing in the world, so.
Delivered it, shipped it, did a campaign for a DeLorean, also die-cast, and as we're recording this, in the middle of a campaign for something I never thought would be possible, a die-cast Enterprise refit.
Yeah.
And this is the prototype.
This is the prototype.
This is literally, this is not die-cast. This is your guys' master.
Right, this is basically, in a way, it's our prototype / deco master. It's in the constant process of being upgraded as well.
So many questions.
Okay.
So many questions.
So here's the thing I want to start with. The paint job on this is really, really beautiful. And I think people might be surprised to see both the geometric pattern and the specular highlighting, but having worked in the model shop at Industrial Light and Magic, I know this technique very well, and it's one that the model shop really loved, which is the subtle specular highlighting of slight metallic transparent paints yields really interesting detail kicks as the form moves through the light. And you guys have, I count at least 4 or 5 colors?
Yeah, there's 4 colors. This isn't the final pattern. We're still working those kinks out. But between me and Gary Kerr, Carl Tate, Matt Cushman, and Glenn Swanson, also Mark Myers, we're all working together to get this to be the best it could possibly be.
And those are experts in the community who
everybody knows who
are
Gary
kind
Kerr
of like
is.
the holders of all the structural canon. For what these ships, how they were built.
Right. I have the best. Yeah, exactly. I'm lucky to have the best team working on this with me, because I'm not a huge Star Trek nut, but I know better that it needs to be perfect.
So can you walk us through that? Because for the TOS Enterprise, it doesn't have that Aztec pattern. Right. Has its own challenges in terms of the paint finish, because we can see the Smithsonian model.
Right.
This one, what was the process to getting these right, and how is the factory going to actually apply this paint?
So what you see here, again, it's not final. We're still working on a few things, but there's improvements that need to be made, but it's going to be done with tampo pad printing. So it'll basically, it'll have a base coat of iridescent blue, believe it or not, and then we'll layer over just the different grid patterns around it to get to basically what we want.
And tampo printing is, you're basically taking a large rubber ball that dips itself onto ink, but ink that has been patterned in a way to correctly transfer geometrically to what you're hitting.
Yeah, so basically it's a rubber pad that picks up basically a silk screen pattern. And then it picks it up perfectly and plops it on.
And this is a highly refined, it sounds like when I first saw tampo printing, I was like, you're kidding me.
No,
And it looks like a super jank process, but it's highly precise.
It's almost everybody does it. I mean, it's been in use for 30, 40, maybe longer.
Amazing. If you Google,
many
just
years.
Watch a video of tampo printing, it's just endlessly hilarious.
Painting of inside of a bowl or something.
The bowls are the best.
Or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and you said this prototype is from your factory. So this is your factory's exploration of how this paint application can,
we've been working with them, and they have a model shop that, we've basically, all this was 3D printed. Some of it was, hand done, but it was all scratch built based on Gary Kerr's blueprints.
Amazing. I'm really curious about the lighting. I honestly, I felt like when this thing arrived, the thing I was most surprised about was how uniform and scale the lighting felt. There's a color bit to this red and this green that feels so much like 1960s television. I felt sure that you guys spent tons of time dialing that in. And I'd love to hear the process for this one.
Sure. This actually, the light patterns that you see here, the sequence themselves itself isn't quite perfect.
It's an ongoing script,
It is. It's just programming.
Sure.
And so a lot of it was just based on what you saw in like when Kirk and Scotty are on the travel pod and they're heading towards the ship, and they have the startup, where you can tell Scotty's excited, Kirk's kind of indifferent, and all of a sudden everything pops up and the whole.
That's the hero shot, the
whole,
reveal.
The whole theater's like, whoa!
Yeah,
because everything's just like pop, 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 and it goes to what it does. And so we want to replicate that, obviously, as close to it as possible. And so that way, when you turn it on, it'll go through that startup. So all the lights will turn on, and then it'll slowly, like a couple of spotlights will kick in, a couple more spotlights will kick in, then the navigation deflector will kick in, and then you'll see the spotlights, hit the bottom. And just light it up like it does in the movie.
Oh, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. When ILM filmed that, you guys use mirrors, right? Like dental mirrors and lights bouncing off to get a little spot.
Sometimes it's absolutely impossible to get them into the place that you want them to be. What I'm also really surprised by is the diffusion. And do you guys run through multiple iterations of bulb diffusion to choose the ones you like?
Yes, it's kind of like trial and error.
Sure.
Eventually, what you can't see on this one, and usually when we go into warp mode on this, there's certain effects that we're constantly improving. Because you have to.
Nacelles, for example.
Exactly.
You guys are going to hopefully smooth that out to make it a continuous light.
Yeah.
But unlike the TOS Enterprise, you guys have lights on the stand.
Right.
To emulate the spotlights.
Right. Because we knew we had to do something to get that, because that's one of the biggest things people remember from the movie is the spotlights hitting up the emblem and hitting up the bottom side.
The add scale or can break scale, right? If the spotlight's too big or
Yeah.
Chris, I'm curious look, die casting I think of as a fairly robust and advanced process, but I'm curious if, given that this shape has presented problems for manufacturers forever, if you still encountered manufacturing difficulties even using a process as robust as die casting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the end goal is to make a product or a replica that's as close to what it needs to be as possible. It does have its limitations, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't do it's not like plastics where you can do really fine materials, thin walls, that kind of stuff. And so we're constantly thinking of ways to kind of fake it out and kind of just cut corners and just use some tricks. So,
well, I guess that's the question of why diecast, right? Like when you guys announced this, it was like, doesn't that just add cost and wait for shipping?
It does, but there's some inherent value, like when you hold something that's made of like diecast or whatever, and it's been this way since we were kids, right? So
listen, honestly, I carried this out here for this shoot, and I was reminded how lovely it feels.
Right?
It's just like to not feel, every ship I've ever held feels this delicate.
Yeah.
And to handle one that's not feels kind of amazing.
Yeah, again, there's something, I don't know, I'm old school like that, and there's something, TOMY's been around. They've been doing the diecast business for like 100 years.
Yeah.
Erdl, who's part of TOMY, they've been, I think, in the business 80 years next year, and so we just know diecast, and
it's an area of expertise. Your factories have it down.
Right. And so I work with some amazing project managers. I got Rick Pettinger, who's fantastic with a lot of this kind of stuff. He and I always butt heads, but because we're always pushing to get the best product out there.
Well, some of the challenges then Adam's talking about in terms of weight, like this is a unorthodox shape for a collectible, right? You got a heavy saucer section. With diecast, you gotta have screw plugs that you gotta cover up. Can you talk about how those things are being addressed with this model now that you guys have shipped a diecast Enterprise?
Yeah, so as you know, this one had screw plugs, and some of them are visible. This one, we're trying to make it where they're hidden much better. So
like behind panels, perhaps?
Behind panels, so you can't see it here, but on our side, like this here is a separate panel, and there's screws that hold it together, and then that'll just basically snap into place. This part of this the dorsal. And if you look here, you can see one, and if you look over here, you can see one. Those are still a little bit bigger than they're going to be. And also these ones that you see here, those will actually be on the bottom.
Gotcha.
But there's also panels, like screw holes here under these panels too. One thing we did do different with this one is, so instead of screwing the two halves of the ship together, this one basically, it screws from the bottom up. And so you have the top piece, the strong back, we call it.
Right.
And then you have sidewalls, and then you have the bottom, and they all sandwich together. So you'll never see those.
So everything is on the underside.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Same thing for the saucer. The saucer has plug holes as well, but you can't, they're part of the grid pattern, so you can't see them.
And that's part of the design process where, even though this is 3D printed, you're putting those in the design here, but you said you can adjust and move them. Like how permeable is that going to be as you go through the next year of production?
Well, that's the thing. So this is obviously just a prototype, and so now that we've seen what that looks like, we don't like the way that it looks. So we're working with the factory to move them to the other side, yeah. So it's a matter of a constant refinement.
I'm curious also about setting your customers' expectations. These paint jobs are really difficult, specifically because they're made to be invisible unless the camera's moving, and they add scale and drama.
Right.
But I worked on motion control sets with ships where I was painting them shot to shot. In fact, I mean, one of the original Enterprises, you can see pencil all over the Aztec pattern. I am curious about how you guys go about helping your customers understand what the original looked like and what they'll see read that.
Yeah, that's a tough one because a lot of the reference photos that you see of the original filming model, they're all in black and white. And so you never saw, you didn't know what the iridescence was. You just didn't know. And once in a while you'd find a photo that kind of showed it, but a lot of times it was weird lighting, with like a blue or a red light on it. So you weren't quite sure what was going on. But Gary Kerr and Carl Tate they spent hours and hours and hours working together, analyzing both their reference files, and basically, in a weird way, crack the code of what they think that the pattern should look like and how it was done.
Right.
On the original Enterprise, there was almost it looks like hand done weathering effects to mimic what was on the filming model. Are there any of that in this ship?
There'll be no weathering on this one.
Okay.
No.
So it's a mix of
As delivered.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Yep.
A mix of that the big pad for the Aztec pattern, and then are these stenciled like?
This will probably be done. I don't exactly know yet. I'm gonna guess that they're probably going to be tampo pad.
Okay.
To make them nice and sharp and clear.
Oh,
they might be water slide, which is just as good. But
Yeah.
I personally like tampo pad because it, with water slides a lot of times you can see the edges of the decals.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Has the advent of rapid prototyping and rapid manufacturing over the past 20 years aided you guys in this design iterative process, allowed you to make changes later in the manufacturing process than you would have normally been able to?
Not necessarily in the manufacturing process, but definitely leading up to.
Right, the design and iteration.
Yeah, so a lot of times, like for, I would say in the past 5 years, the way that we've done stuff is a lot of it's 3D printed as far as like the prototypes go, and also the tooling model. Because once this is done, next is actually in progress now, is the tooling model. And the tooling model is basically going to be the thing that the tool maker, the mold maker, follows when they cut steel to make it right. So there's probably been.
I just love the idea that there are Enterprise-sized chunks of steel that will yield this thing.
Oh yeah, because those molds are huge. I mean
they weigh hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
And they're solid steel.
Right.
They have to be like high quality steel because it's diecast that's going in them.
Can you give a sense of how many tools goes into a model like this? Just the ship?
If I had to say off the top of my head, I'm probably wrong, but at least 16 tools.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because there's also, you have obviously the big stuff, but then you have a lot of the internals. And
That's right.
Because the structure.
There's an arboretum.
Yep.
Oh, no way, what?
You guys did a shuttle bay, I know, for the original Enterprise.
Yeah.
And is this going to have interior as well?
Yeah, there's also going to be an officer's lounge, arboretum. Again, there's the hangar bay in there. Yeah, so I mean, all those little pieces and parts need their own separate tool.
Look, on this channel, we are regularly conversing with people who are, like we are, conversing with their young selves. So I'm just curious about you, having seen Star Wars when you were 7, conversing with yourself about making Enterprises. That's pretty far out.
It's pretty cool. I always say I have the best job in the world. I've been designing toys probably like 27, 28 years, at least with this company. And it's just, you have your good days and your bad days. Usually deadlines are the killer, but I couldn't ask for a better job. It's fun.
There are just lots of little details, Chris, that keep communicating your guys' seriousness to a certain level of veracity and experience. So just like the spinning nacelles, the different iterations of nacelles for turning this on, and the lighting on this one just makes me so excited to see this finished product.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I was just at Star Trek Las Vegas last week, the week before, And my biggest thrill was, it was long days, but my biggest thrill was seeing everybody excited about my product.
Yeah.
And just talking shop with them about everything, and just to make sure that we get things right. You know,
Right,
so
right, right.
Well, you're absorbing from the hardest of hardest core Star Trek fans. People maybe who have built their own models.
This is, we're always saying this, but your best customers are also your least forgiving customers.
They're tough, but you know what? I'm always up for a good challenge, and this is a good one. So.
And ultimately, you're trying to do the same thing. You're trying to deliver what they want.
Absolutely.
It's just, it's very clear that like everyone has their experience, and they all want that experience to come back.
I mean, even with this one, we still, like, every day we get letters or emails from people that are like thrilled beyond belief that we did it. So that is always, to me, that's always nice and refreshing, just to let let myself know that I'm doing something right. But it's fun.
Can you talk about the stand and the fact that will be USB powered versus you had batteries for the first one, and what informed those decisions? And
so when we did this one, we had talked about doing USB power or at least AC something, but because they had the saucer separation in this, we were worried about, okay, how are we gonna power everything with just one? And a couple of different things. One was, we decided to do batteries because they're easy to find, obviously, but another one was, especially with the spinning nacelles, like LEDs will last a long time. They'll last forever.
Those motors wear out.
Those motors will wear out. And so I was worried that if somebody had this on their shelf and displayed it for a year, like that, just kept running, that maybe the motors would burn out, and then there's no way to really replace them. And so if we were going to do AC power or whatever it was, I was going to have maybe where it would time out after like 30 minutes.
Right. Or you could give it a special 2-hour. I'm literally working on a lighting prop right now, and I realize I want to build in just a standard 5-minute shutoff, like after you've messed with it.
Yeah, a lot of the toys that I have designed in the past, usually there's like a 15-second turn off. It just automatically turns off because, I've done toys for kids, and a lot of times they'll leave them on in the toy box, and nobody likes that.
Yeah.
So
kids are so bad at planning ahead.
They're the worst. No, they're great. So what we learned from this one, with this one, this has no moving parts, right? And so it made sense not to. We weren't going to do the remove, like the saucer separation. That was some people loved it, some people really were indifferent, and some people hated it. So I said, well, let's just not do it, and then everybody's happy, right? So again, it made it a lot easier.
Well, you'll still get the same response, but it'll be easier for you guys.
I'm sure there'll be somebody be like, why didn't you do saucer separation?
Yeah.
It's fine.
We get a better sense of how people are going to display these, right? With the type of collector, maybe they want it on. It's a centerpiece for their collection, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They want to control when it turns
off.
And
so for this one, we have it where it's all USB powered. This has been, I don't even know how many milliamps this is, but or how much it stores, but I used this all through Las Vegas for 5 days, and it ran it the entire time.
This is just a little cell.
Pack.
A little battery pack.
Yep.
Amazing.
When you get this, like when you get shipped to your door, you'll unbox it, you pull out the base, set it down, take out the ship and set it down. There's no assembly. You just basically set it on there. So
that's great.
There's contacts in this in the mast. Basically, I think there's 7 pins. They basically just contacts, spring loaded. So
like is it slightly magnetic, or it's just gravity? Okay,
it's all gravity.
And then how about these supports here? Like, is this still a work in progress?
This
the
is
base
still
design?
we're still trying to figure out. Some people don't mind the supports. I don't necessarily want them, but they might need to be there because again, this is a 20-pound model.
Right,
and it's very, by design, it's nose heavy, right? And so technically the balance point, if you were to find the balance point, it's like over here. And there's no way to really do that.
So it's a tremendous amount of force on that lever arm here. Yeah.
So the base will be die cast as well, so that'll help, that'll help alleviate any, cracking or tip over problems or whatever it could be. But
is this at the limit of the size of die casting?
It's pretty close.
Yeah, I was wondering about how close to the edge of this technology you are.
Yeah. I would say, I think we can go a little bit bigger, but this is like 16 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I mean, you can go much, much bigger, but it gets way more expensive.
I mean, because also I would imagine the formulation of your die casting alloy is dependent upon how far it has to flow and how long it has to stay plastic, et cetera.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different factors,
oh
but
my God, fascinating. I really want to go watch these being
made especially
in the factory.
The paint application. Yeah. Are you guys going back and forth to the factory and sending samples just to make sure all the registration's perfect? And
so right now we're working out the structure itself, like all the CAD files, and making sure that things are good. but very soon I'm gonna have to start figuring out exactly what the pattern is gonna be, what kind of paint. Believe it or not, the paint that we used as for inspiration was basically, it's a taxidermy paint for like fishing lure, like for fish. So it's an iridescent paint. Mark Myers,
amazing,
professional model maker out there, he's the one that told me about that. And so we've been using that as a guide, and again, you know, it's turned out pretty good so far.
You got to source it. I mean, it's not like the factory has a wall full of like iridescent paints.
No, they have
you have to source it.
Yeah, they have
at
to.
quantity.
They'll work with a paint, a paint company to find the right formulation.
So when there are this many, one of my sons is a cook, a chef, and you know, when they talk about food, they talk about how many touches before it goes out to the customer. How many times does someone have to manipulate it? And in like a 3 Michelin star restaurant, it might be 40 touches.
Yeah.
And I know you guys, for manufacturing, it's like how many different people are touching this thing. How does so many different processes being used in a model affect your quality control? I would imagine, how do you take a look at this thing at the end and be like, it's good? Do you check everything along the way?
Yeah, there's a couple of different things. We check everything along the way to make sure that, you know, because a lot
So
of
it's not like one person has to look at this and check off a 70-item checklist.
Right. So as it goes through each station or, you know, or manufacturing thing or whatever, there's inspectors that check it out, make sure that something's working, you know, the electronics, or if there's, you know, like some of the registrations like way off, and it just won't make it. I mean, if it's not bad, they scrap it. And so we do have a decent scrap rate. It's not terrible, but it's every diecast manufacturer's got a scrap rate that they build into, you know.
Oh, so it's like a normal metric that there's going to be a certain amount of attrition.
So as the manufacturer's process goes along, so like say the first week they might have more scrap rate the first week, but by the time they get to the second, third, fourth, whatever, everybody's figured out how it's supposed to go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
they can make more with less mistakes.
How long is the development cycle for a product like this? Because I know from campaign to shipping, you're looking at roughly a year, right? But
yeah, it's actually, I think I was working on this already back in, I would say, August of last year.
Oh, so it's like a 2-year from when you start to
that's pretty much what we basically use a two year target development.
That seems really crazy fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's slow, but yeah, it works out well, because if you give yourself time to work some of the kinks, because inevitably there's going to be an issue is going to pop up where like the factory's going to be like, we can't do that,
right?
Because we thought we could, we can't, and so we have to figure out what to do from there. But
does it feel like you've solved the motion picture era of Star Trek, the things like the Aztec paint and this style, where it would make it easier if you wanted to do something from another ship from that era?
I think so. I mean, again, with every project that we've done, whether it's this one, you know, the DeLorean or
I so
whatever.
want to see a next generation ship with.
Well, that's a
that.
whole different.
Yeah, I know. That's what I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Next generation DS9 Voyager. That's like a different type of paint and different type of era of model making that you're trying to replicate.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone mocked up any model shots with this one? Like mocked up any actual Star Trek ship shots? Because that's my first thought, is to pull out my phone, put up a black curtain, and get some.
I don't know if anybody has it or not. That's a good question. I know we have with this one, we did some promo videos.
Oh yeah.
And so we did some green screen, whatever, and it looked pretty good. I don't know if anybody's ever done it with this.
Yeah, I know. It makes me want to, right?
Yeah.
Well, Chris, it's such beautiful work. I know your to-do list is 10,000 items long, but I can't wait for its end. And the campaign's still going, right?
It does. So it goes until September 15.
Okay.
All right. It's already met the fundraising goal?
Yeah, we had a goal of 2,000 pieces, and we nailed that within the first 3 or 4 hours of the campaign.
Amazing.
On August 1st, and then, I mean, orders are still coming in. So
I mean, I can
everybody's
say,
gonna get it.
as a collector, following the forums, a lot of people didn't know about this one, and it's really tough to get one of those.
Yeah.
So, you know, you want to get in on this, and is it fair to say the more successful this is, the more likely we'll see more ships?
Oh, by far, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a link in the description for where you need to go. Dude, thank you so much for being so transparent about the process. It's so thrilling.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you guys so much for watching that video. We have some brand new merch available at the store. A dog's age ago, I mean like 2018, 2019, this wonderful graphic designer named Brian Otterer reached out to us and sent us some stickers. He has a design firm called Dash 3 Dots, and we loved his stickers so much we wanted to sell them on the merch store. Well, he updated them with our new logo, and we've got Adam in Martian spacesuit sticker. We've got Adam in the shuttle suit sticker. We've got Adam in the Apollo suit sticker. And my personal favorite, Adam in the alien spacesuit sticker. Get yours now, tested-store.com. Hey!